Hi, Nicole. Welcome to the Genetic Genius podcast. I'm thrilled to have you as a guest today.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here and share what I can with your audience. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. Before we dive deep into the cellular aspect of the DNA and how the emotions are affected, I would love for you to just us to get to know you. So, what do you do in the world? What's your passion? What are you doing right now to make a difference?
Oh, wow. How much time do we have?
Yeah.
I practice a form of energy medicine. It's called intuition medicine, and it's a specialized certification. And it really is about blending Western scientific insights into energy medicine with Western shamanic methodologies as well. So it's this beautiful marriage of ancient wisdom and scientific insights. And what that does is that my focus is really on helping people figure out the spiritual causation for some of their ailments and illnesses. I am not a medical doctor, so I do not treat from that perspective, but I do show a client where maybe there is some concern for energy blockage or some other issue that's impacting their well-being. And I look at the mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual aspects of themselves.
I love it. That's great. I love this when the science becomes one with the emotional body, because that's really what it's all about, right? Yeah,
Exactly.
there can be no separation between the two.
I wish more doctors were in that belief.
It's changing. I think that the more people want to have a change in the way that their healthcare is provided to them, the more we'll see people needing to meet that change. It's people have to want it back and forth.
Exactly.
And then we also have to be able to provide it too, which is good. Okay, so today we're going to be talking all about rewiring the brain to improve health and release that like emotional genetic baggage, which if you're listening right now and you're not really like, what is Dr. Lulu talking about? Well, we're going to find out. So before we like jump into that deep kind of conversation, I'd love for you to kind of, there's this really fun thing on your website, which I'd love for you to talk about is the spiritual superpower, because I also mentioned it in my book and I was like, oh, wow, she's like right on the same page as me. So can you talk a little bit about what is a spiritual superpower? And so people can understand that terminology, which I love.
Yes. Great question. And yes, I love using that because we all have superpowers. We all have innate gifts. And what I refer to as your spiritual superpowers are more about your intuition and the way that you are guided by your own inner wisdom. Some people call it God or spirit, the universe, angels, whatever it is, there is a source of wisdom. And even when people say, I just had a gut feeling, that is a spiritual superpower. So that's what I mean by that. And it's helping people really tap in because I feel like a lot of people, like myself included, I thought I didn't have any gifts. I didn't think I had this ability. I depended on other people that I thought were more gifted than me to share with me what they got, out of sensing me or connecting with me. It's all about empowerment and teaching people how to do this for themselves, how to source their own inner wisdom and find out what their strengths are and even what maybe their superpower weaknesses are so that they can understand how their intuition communicates with them. I tell a story of how I used to believe that I had to have this like loud booming voice speak to me if I was like intuitive. Some Morgan Freeman God-like voice. And that's a clairaudience skill. And I didn't have clairaudience as one of my strengths. I was more clairsentient, which is about feeling things, that's the gut feeling. So I was looking for the answer to come in a form that wasn't even one of my strengths. But the good news is a lot of people can develop and get stronger in all their abilities.
Love it. And I really like that key aspect that you said. We think we might have a specific ability, especially when it comes to our own intuition, and it could be being guided from a totally different way. And then we might be searching when it's actually been inside us the whole time. And
Yes.
yeah, so that's a really great. Okay, so we have this spiritual superpower, this intuition within all of us, which I think is one key part about what you said. So if you're listening out there and you're thinking, I don't even know how do I know I am an intuitive, right? I think we're going to talk about that.
Yes.
How can we like protect this superpower, the spiritual aspect of ourselves, which is so like precious, a deep part of ourselves? And then also like, how do we keep it supercharged so that we can activate it and access it in any moment in time when we need it?
Sure. A big part of it, and I think this is what a lot of people overlook, and I felt what was missing when I was searching for answers, and what I finally found through my training was being actually present in your body to
Mm.
receive the messages. And
Mhm.
when present in your body, I'm not talking about invasion of the body snatchers or anything like that. Like nothing's happened to you. Eckhart Tolle talks about being in the now, right? Being
Mhm.
present. We're not in the past, we're not in the future, we're in the now. And I noticed that for me, I was not really present. I wasn't conscious and aware most of my young life up until I would say 32. And that caused me to really like not even be home to get the
Mhm.
phone call that my intuition was trying
Mhm.
to, reach me. And
Mhm.
you can be present, you can get in the now by a technique called grounding. And you may
Mhm.
have heard about earthing or grounding.
Mhm.
And that is that, connecting into the frequency and the electromagnetic source of energy in the earth. And it actually helps you come more your spiritual self, your higher self, your soul, whatever you want to call it. It helps you in that energy be more present and full in this human home.
That was great clarity and so true. When we're in that grounded space, we're connected to the earth, which allows us to receive, right? To be open. And I liked what you said too. It's we're not being invaded by some other entity. It's all within us. We're activating that within ourselves. So it's not something we're reaching outward. We're reaching like more inward. Is that correct?
Yes, and unfortunately, Lulu, there's a lot of people that do search outward and they use techniques that I feel are a little bit unsafe or bringing in entities or spirits into their sacred space or their body. And I've seen it time and time again. And I work with people. One of my specialties, I think, is helping clear entities.
Mm.
And I think there's some fascination or like romantic kind of connotation with this whole, I want to connect with this outside realm. And so it can be a little bit unsafe for people. So
Mhm.
you being home though, here present in your body is what is going to keep you safe, first of
Mhm.
all, and knowing that everything that you're searching for is within you. So there's no need to
Mhm.
leave and travel in some other realm. I don't know how woo-woo your audience is, but I
Right.
hear a lot of people that are into traveling and going places.
Yeah. Right. Yes.
Yeah.
And interdimensional travel. I think that's what you're talking about. Yeah. And the audience, there's all types of people listening.
Yeah.
And the message goes out to those who need it. So that's
Yes.
perfect, as always. And okay, we're in this space of grounding and we've tuned in and we're like, okay, I am. So we're in this place of connecting to the earth and grounding. And the other side of that question was, how do we keep that like power, that spiritual power activated, or how can we keep it charged? Because I think that's part of that. It's like, okay, great. I have this superpower, the spiritual
Yes.
aspect within myself, but how do I keep it going all the time? Is there like a turn on button or a turn up the volume button?
Yes, thank you for reminding the second part of that question. Sometimes I go on a little
Yeah, no
journey and then I
worries.
forget where I was going. So that really involves you practicing.
Mm,
And there isn't a magic wand that I can wave to help people stay tuned in and connected. It's more a practice that you build every day. And it's really about awareness. So when I awareness, you're here in this, wherever you are right now listening. What are you aware of in the moment? Are you aware of the noises around you? Are you tuned in and listening and focusing on our voices? A lot of times we kind of tune out, right? There's a lot of distractions in our world.
Mm-hmm.
So how can you listen to that quiet inner voice or whatever it is and intuition is very subtle. It's not loud and booming like Morgan Freeman's voice. And how can you notice it more if you're constantly distracted? So I believe having some type of mindfulness practice, whether you want to meditate, do breath work, journal, walk in nature, any time where you can just connect with yourself and just listen, feel, sense what's around you, it's like you dial in to that station. It's always streaming.
Yes, yes, your station. Tuning into your station, which is always on if you tune in.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's so true. That's great because I think, that's that really key aspect you mentioned is that mindfulness piece, having that practice daily where you're then like, even it doesn't have to be a lot of my patients will say, I don't want to meditate. I don't have the time. Like, it doesn't have to be this like massive an hour a day. Like when I lived at a yoga retreat center, I would meditate for 3 hours a day. That was great for maybe that moment in time when I was all I was doing, right? But not sustainable. Not enjoy to me. It was not like bringing a place of like unending joy. Like I wanted to be doing other things in our life. We have lots of things we do, but like you said, having that mindfulness practice, maybe it's for 10 minutes a day, or maybe you're doing it 10 minutes twice a day, or maybe you're just like a quickie, just tuning in for that moment. Is that what you're talking about too? Just, are you present, knowing if you're present in the moment?
A lot of people, like I have students and clients that like to use automatic writing. The thing is, there's no wrong way to do this. Tons of possibilities, and you have to be willing to practice and get creative. This stuff is all about real, like your creativity and your imagination. I think, that's what you have to let go is this analytical, follow this process, look this way, and just enjoy the creative process that this really is about. And that's what I like to do, is bring fun and creativity into it. It lets people loose a little bit.
Yeah. And that's so true. If you're too restricted in your box and it's around you, then you're not able to learn something that could really help you tap into your new place of being, so to speak.
Exactly.
Okay, let's talk about, so we're talking about coming into the spiritual power or tuning into ourselves to activate that or access it. So let's switch it and talk about the DNA a little bit. So how is that involved in the DNA? Does it come through a lineage, a timeline of people before us through our DNA, that it's all connected through maybe like the female generation coming through, or is it through past lives where it's coming through all different types of DNA, or is it a combination of it together?
It's a buffet.
A buffet. Love it. That's great.
It is. It's any and all. And I think that's why I love the work I do, because I'm constantly learning, researching, discovering. I'm going to be, I think that's a good approach, to just keep yourself open to learning. And they're doing a lot of research in this, but for my own belief and what I've found to be true is that it's all of it. It comes from your lineage. It can come from past lives. I do a lot of work with past lives, and even understanding like the neuro science of it too, and the programming, so to speak, or the genetic aspects that we have hardwired into us, but we can change, of course. Everything's malleable. So it's so many things. It's so nuanced. It's not just one.
Yeah, which is great because our DNA is not just one thing. Yeah, it's a very simple but yet complex part of our body, which I think there's both sides of that can be understood or misunderstood.
And And with, I think you've discovered this too in your research and understanding, they've proven that certain things are not like, just because someone had cancer, a disposition for cancer in your family doesn't mean it's in the DNA, where they used to
Right.
believe things like that. So they're still understanding and exploring.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are misunderstood in how the DNA is understood, because it's such a new aspect of study, of scientific study, and we're learning about it so much more. So, oh yeah, it's just like anything. Like, oh yeah, fats were bad for you, and now we're saying like, oh yeah, fats are good for you. So it's just like the same thing. We're discovering like that's not really true about your DNA, and I think people are especially learning about all the different aspects of it from that spiritual place. Okay, we have this DNA that comes from all different things. Like you said, this spiritual buffet that we have picked through from as we've decided to come into our being. And if we have this spiritual DNA, how do we tap into that? Is it like through, like you were saying, like through that meditative process, through that mindfulness? Is there a way to hone in and activate that DNA, turn on that DNA to activate that spiritual power within us?
It is a process, and in my experience, I found my way to my original essence energy, as they call it, at the school that I attended, the Academy of Intuition Medicine in Sausalito, California. And that original essence energy is like the seed of who we are, where we came from, all
Mm-hmm.
those things. And then through a series of transformations, spiritual growth, all these things, we made our way into this life in this
Right.
body. And then we get the, oh, here's the model that you picked for yourself.
Right.
And
Yes.
it comes with its own host of lessons and opportunities for
Right.
you.
Yeah.
And the beauty of that, though, is knowing that, like I said, energy, time, everything's malleable.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you came into a body with DNA that has certain propensities or different things, that can be changed. Like, this is not a life sentence. There, I think people have watched enough, documentaries and read enough books to know that anything can be overcome or healed with really a lot of intention. Energy follows your thoughts and intentions.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think that we are spiritualizing matter, as
Mm-hmm.
my mentor liked to say, with the healing work that is possible with energy medicine
Mm-hmm.
modalities. So we can affect change in our DNA, even like past lives, future, time is not linear.
Mm-hmm.
So there is that possibility that you can create instant change and really heal a
Mm-hmm.
lot.
Yeah.
Whatever, even like trauma stored in a cellular level, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of things.
Oh, great. I love that concept too of we do have this stamp, so to speak, of our DNA, but we can change that with our intention. And that was a really important aspect that you said there, and very different place of thought that we're moving into on the planet. And there's all different aspects, and we probably have 8 different podcasts we could talk about that.
Yeah.
We'll keep it ourselves on the path today, though.
Yes.
Okay, so we're learning how to tap into the spiritual power, and then how does this? Let's talk about the brain, because you mentioned that a little bit,
Yes.
and so we're tapping into the neural pathways or the neuroplasticity of the brain, all the different wires. How do we tap into kind of like rewire those emotional pathways?
Great. And I've been fascinated about this subject for like over a decade. I don't know if people know of Dr. Joe Dispenza, but
Mm-hmm.
he is a big person, that expert in this area. So like I said, everything's malleable. So even though you have certain belief systems or stories that you're holding on to, like, I never win, whatever it is, these are all, let's just say, they're little like pathways that you've created and get fed and fed with that same story over and over again. And what we found, and others have found, is that we can rewire some, I think Joe Dispenza calls it rewiring, or in my learning, my education, we call it zapping. And there's a neuroscience, Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor. And if anyone's ever watched her TED Talk or read her book, she had a stroke. And as a brain scientist,
I remember I've seen that one.
Yeah, it was, I think her book's called My Stroke of Genius or something
like
like that. And she actually talks about how she was able to be aware of what was happening in the left and right side of her brain while she was having this stroke. And she had a long recovery from the stroke. And she basically rewired her brain, because she noticed when she would have a negative thought or emotion and she didn't like the way it felt, she's like, she realized the neurological and physiological connection, and how within 90 seconds of having that thought, the emotional response floods your physiology, the neuropeptides, all the sciencey stuff that I'm not an expert in, and it creates a physiological response in the body. She saw all that happen within 90 seconds of having a feeling, thinking about a memory or whatever it was. And she learned how to turn off that thought. In the methodology I've learned, we call it zapping. It's part of physio-psychic system that we explored in our learning. And there's another person, Greg Braden, his book, Biology of Belief, I believe. It's all within optogenetics, epigenetics. It's all within that whole area of topic. And it's about how our energy anatomy system is connected with our endocrine and nervous system. And that we can do something and basically delete or eradicate unhealthy thoughts, habits, and conditioning we have stored in there.
Yeah, that's great. And so it's like almost like a broom or some kind of thing coming out and cleaning out the like little pathways of our brain, which are very complicated and intricate is a better word. So you can have this cleaning to come in and then rewire certain emotional patterns that could be causing a place of stuckness or a place of emotional baggage, so to speak, that you're trying to clear. Does that kind of summarize that aspect?
It's a whole mixed bag. And there's even, it's like reprogramming, cauterizing those like little pathways, but you're reprogramming and you're changing that encoded information. And some of it comes from your matrilineal and patrilineal lines. So for example, I had some belief that I finally realized wasn't even mine. It came from my mom.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how did I grew up and my mom loved me and this and that. Why do I feel like not worthy or not deserving? And I had this belief going around this story. And I realized I basically took it on. And I don't blame her. And like, I had some part in that.
Right.
But I finally realized that. And that was really through connecting with myself, journaling, like discovering, exploring, like, why do I have this story?
Right.
And then once I realized it wasn't even mine, I was like, oh, I can go. Like, I could just let it go. And it was easy for me to do that in that situation. But I know that some things require more time and commitment and even more guidance, because not everybody has that patience and desire to really explore some of these not so pleasant memories and stories.
Yeah, this is true. And we're all being called now to a place in time to rewire those brain patterns so that we can shift, because our brain is a magnificent organ. The science has said that we are only using like a very small percentage of our brain power. So I think that's like part of my questioning process here is, okay, so if we have this like super spiritual power, will it help to activate this other part of our brain like that basically is like ready and waiting? It's like, oh my God, please turn me on. I can do so much for you.
I totally am excited to find that out as well, because I believe
Right.
that as well. And they've
Yeah.
done a lot of research. There's a lot of neurophysicists and
Hmm.
scientists that are researching the brain more and finding that there's areas that are the motherboard of intuition, like in the hypothalamus area, and
Right.
how the pineal gland and just all these gland endocrine system and it's fascinating. Like I said, I could talk
So,
about this for hours.
right. Yes, it's totally fascinating. I love it. Okay. We're talking about rewiring the brain and going in and looking at an emotional pattern or some trauma that we've experienced in the past that could then shift us out of maybe a current state of being. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So then if we have, is the, not to compartmentalize things, but is the physical DNA and the spiritual DNA and the emotional DNA like all separate in the ways that we can have that spirit, that rewiring? Or is it more that we need to look at the holistic package and be like, if this DNA is connected to this aspect of the trauma, it's all.
Yeah, I sense that it's all connected. I don't have a
Mhm.
definitive answer on that. I feel we are multidimensional. We,
Right.
yeah, if you believe that, we're existing in different times and places and dimensions.
Hmm.
And so I feel I think we have to look at the human body. We are frozen light. We're energy waves, and there's a lot more going on to the eye, and we can't see.
Right.
So I'm sure if we could see energetically what was really going on, we'd be really in for a treat, because it would answer a lot of questions.
Yeah.
But I do feel it's multi-layered, multifaceted. I think we exist in our own little like personal universe, and
Hmm.
there's more to the eye that's going on
Right.
here.
Yes. Behind the scenes. Yes,
Yeah.
totally. And I like what you just said too about that vibrational, like frozen light or vibrational light. Cause we're just like we're a physical body, but we're a vibrational body within the physical body, acting or accessing the energy around us all the time, that other vibration, whether that's water or food or emotions, and we're processing them. Right.
Yeah, and that term spiritualizing matter that I mentioned, that
Oh yeah.
my
Mhm.
mentor always says, that's what I remind myself, is we're spiritualizing matter, this physical form. We're bringing in the spiritual aspect, whether we do it through like energy frequencies that we can
Mhm.
tune into, and anyone can do this with the right training. It can happen through colors and sound therapy. There's so
Mhm.
many ways to affect the physical.
Yeah, it's so true. Yes. And I sometimes we feel it more on a physical level, sometimes more on an emotional level, right? Depends on kind of
Yes.
like what feeler we are or how we're tuned in. Because some people are tuned in more emotionally and some people are
Yeah.
tuned in more physically, which is why I think we're having people just become aware that they actually, those two things are really intertwined together.
Yes. And a lot
Yes.
of times what happens is you have the emotional experience first, and then it becomes a physical, because the way the system works and how that energy is carried through the nervous system.
Mhm.
So sometimes people are so maybe overwhelmed by the emotional, they don't even notice what's happening with the physical, because it
Mhm.
might be a stronger experience for them. But yeah.
Yeah, so true. So if we're talking about that emotional and the physical aspect, how is that DNA affected by the trauma and the emotion? Is it only in our current state of being that the DNA is affected, or is it affecting our past state of being emotionally or our future state, or is it all combined together?
All combined together. Yeah, like I said, time isn't linear. So it's really like you could heal something presently and it can have an effect past, future for you. Like, it reminds me of that Ray Bradbury, when we step on the butterfly and then it changes everything. So I like to imagine that whatever I'm healing now is healing some whatever needs to be healed in the past and the future.
Mm-hmm.
And also, when you heal too, you can affect generations of your family by
Mm-hmm.
doing the work. It doesn't have to be everybody has to do it together. Like, I know that there's some things that I worked on that have really transformed the female lineage in my
Mm-hmm.
line. And I feel very strongly about that. I know that I have a knowing, I have an inner knowing that that has happened.
Yeah. And that's true. We can, like you said, do it on an individual level. And then we have the collective, the healing collective, where then we can come together and then emphasize or charge that emotional healing or intention is a better way to describe it, that intention that we have for healing. But both of those things are so active. And I think you've been talking about so much about how we can tune into that own power within us. And then when we're active into that state, then we can like move mountains, so to speak. Okay, so we're talking about changing our like actual DNA, having that shift happen, whether that's on a physical level. So we're talking about, every aspect of our physical being, the emotional DNA, which let's break that just down for a second. What do we mean by that? What's that? What is like emotional and spiritual DNA anyway? People like, what does that mean?
I don't have an answer on that one,
Yeah.
but what I take it to mean is like I see it, I see things sometimes.
Mhm.
I see it as code, information,
Right.
because isn't DNA like code? So I see it as coded, this information. And a lot of people talk about, oh, I got a download, right? So just like a computer gets a download, you can get coded downloads. And what this can do is actually upgrade your operating system. So that's how I see it. I don't
Mhm.
know what others experience, what it is for me.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great way to describe it. It's really easy for people to understand it in that process, right? So we have a bunch of information. I talk about it as the genetic blueprint. So we have something, we have our physical blueprint, and we have our emotional and spiritual blueprint that have that genetic code, like you said. And so we can activate that, or we can download new information to help us to move to that next level of physical wellness, spiritual wellness, emotional wellness. We're all like wanting to move forward. So then, as you said in the beginning, okay, we're activating that, we're turning it on within us with our spiritual power, and then we're tuning into that new frequency, right? It's all about just shifting to that new frequency in time.
Yeah, upgrading, up leveling, whatever you want to call it. And I
Right.
love that you use that blueprint. And I create blueprints of my physical, energetic body when I'm scanning or doing
Mm-hmm.
an energetic diagnosis on myself or my clients,
Mm-hmm.
so that it looks like a blueprint. It looks like
Mm-hmm.
I can see all the different functions and parts. And I think we all have an ability to develop that skill as well,
Mm-hmm.
that we can use for ourselves. And within that blueprint, there's information,
Right.
and that provides all the answers that we need. So,
Exactly. Yes.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Tapping into that. And like what you said too, we all have access to that, especially that it was just as you mentioned, it takes practice. So tuning into yourself, turning into whatever you feel guided to for that specific gift that you mentioned too. And let's talk about the DNA imprinting. So, what's imprinting and how does that imprinting affect our wellness? Is it come from like an emotional imprint that affects our DNA? Is it come from a physical imprint, like from a pharmaceutical? Does it come from an herbal imprint, like from if you're taking some hawthorn berry? What is it? What is the imprint definition, so to speak? And then what is it broken down?
I love that you're challenging me to define certain things that I don't normally define. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for this. Is stimulating. So I see yes, I see imprinting as this overlay on our blueprint if I were to create a visual, it looks like, so say I'm looking at my human body, my energy systems, everything as a blueprint. And I'm like, I want to bring in healing to, let's say, my thyroid, because I used to have to take thyroid medicine. I could use energy medicine tools for that. I can, there's a lot of things that I can use for that. And what I define it as imprinting is almost like I'm overlaying whatever's currently there and replacing it or upgrading it. I actually do that with like chakras. That was one thing that was cool for me to learn, was that your chakras aren't like there forever. You can replace them, you can fix them, you can rewire them. I feel the same can be done with all our anatomy systems, energetically, visually, through that process, through intention.
Yeah, that was a great explanation, and visualization too. So you have this blueprint that we're talking about, and then if you're imprinting, you're like shifting something over it, or energetically over that item or aspect of the body to shift its energetic pattern.
Yes. Yes. And I thought of something that could probably help clarify that a little bit more. It's like an infusion. And if we think about, we take a tincture or something, or a mouth spray or something, you're getting an infusion of something, and then it goes and does something on a cellular level to us, right?
Yes.
So we can create that experience. And a colleague of mine is a acupuncturist, and she's really fascinating to listen to, because she will ask like certain organs or whatever the ailment the person's complaining, what does it need? And then she, with intention, because we know this, that scientists have proven when they observe subatomic particles and they have an intention or expectation, it happens. It plays out in what they're observing. When you have that intention of, I'm going to infuse vitamin C because I know that's very healing for this organ or whatever, you don't even necessarily have to take the vitamin C for you to create an effect.
Yeah.
Our intentions and the energy behind it is very powerful.
Yeah, I like that clarity that you gave there, Nicole, because it's true with the intention that we can have that like energetic infusion. That's great terminology. I think you should hashtag that one.
Energetic. I'm writing it down.
Right. Yeah. Energetic infusion. Yeah. And so when we're at this place where we're working on healing, let's say we've been imprinted. So you talked earlier, and I know I'm diving deep into some different things here, but you talked earlier about entities, so to speak. So if we feel like we've been imprinted with something that doesn't seem in alignment with our current path, let's just like put it that basic like that.
That's excellent.
Yeah. So how do then we shift to change that imprint? So is that from like a new layer of infusion? Do we need to have a clearing to remove the imprint? Talk about that.
Yes. So it can be multiple steps. I always start with a grounding and a releasing and a cleansing. Earth energy is very cleansing. So I want to clear as much as I can as possible of whatever energy, we call it other people's energy, OPE, or maybe it's out of present time energy. Maybe it's an old me, an old version of me that no longer serves me, whatever it is that's not in harmony, not wanted or desired. I will first draw in some healing earth energy. And again, this is being creative and imagining it as it works. And then what I usually do to upgrade or set the intention in a space for a higher vibration or frequency is I use a frequency of energy that's like a higher level. It's a universal consciousness energy, and it has a certain resonance, a certain color. And I usually bring that into it, almost like it neutralizes whatever was there and brings it to a healthy, healed space.
Mm-hmm. So it's for neutralizing something that could be affecting the cellular imprint.
Yes.
Yeah. And so then is there an aspect like we have to, like from the physical perspective, when we're releasing, let's say, a toxin
Mhm,
that has been
mhm.
imprinted on the cells, we have to do some kind of physical aspect, or we don't have to, but most of the time we'll do something like maybe you're drinking more water or having some lemon juice. Is there something like energetically that you recommend, like I don't know, taking an Epsom salt bath with crystals to help move something through the body energetically?
There's a lot of ideas. I prefer, like, for me, salt water
Hmm.
is really good for me. Other
Hmm.
people have aversions to salt water or whatever. So I live near the ocean. So for
Mm.
me to get in, put my toes in the sand and touch the water and be in the water, I get a really healing of cleansing effect from that.
Hmm.
Um, in Qigong, there's this method where they shake,
Hmm.
and it's you're shaking off the bad juju or
Right.
bad
Yeah.
energy or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah. Getting the energy
People
moving.
do rebounding. That's
Right. Hmm.
similar. So there are things that you can do that is very cleansing and clearing. You can light incense. You can have your crystals. I feel like whatever you want to do. Like I
Mm.
said, there's
Right.
no right or wrong way. It's always
Right.
the intention of it
Yeah.
that matters. Sounds are
Mm.
actually, I use, if I move into a new place and it
Hmm.
doesn't feel right to me, I have different tools I use, but one, I have a space clearing track that I play that I got from
Mm.
a chiropractic doctor that was into frequencies and sounds. I think he
Mm.
called it bioharmonic
Mhm.
healing.
Mhm.
And I noticed like my space felt different. Now, it could have been just my intention.
That's
Yeah.
yeah, intention is maybe 99.9% of the game anyway. It's like when we have the intention, then the other things follow.
Well, I actually, that's funny that you say 99.9%. So I did a personal development weekend once, and they did a thing about how much percentage it was intention and mechanism, and we all came up with our answers. And they said it was 100% intention. It
100%.
doesn't matter how you get there. If your
Right.
intention is, then
That's
you'll get
true.
there,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Okay. 100%. That's great. I love it. That's great. Okay. So we've activated this DNA within us. We're in this place of intention. We are tuning in and rewiring our brain. So all of this is happening. What's our like goal? Which I know that's a strange question, but I mean, like, I think that people want to know that. Listener, you're like, okay, what would be the goal? Just to be happy? That would be a great goal. To have more joy? What's the goal? Or
Yeah,
is
and
there a
everybody
goal?
has different goals, right? I had
Right.
somebody on social media ask me if I felt I was enlightened.
Hmm.
And I've never been asked that before. And I said, there is definitely a need to define enlightenment, but I don't think
Right.
it's a place I don't think it's that destination. I think it's a journey. I feel
Mm.
like many of us who are doing this work are on the path of
Right.
enlightenment.
Yeah.
But I do sense like to me, it really feels like a deep inner peace,
Mm.
like this really state of compassion, peace. I'm more an observer of life rather being affected by things in life. I'm able to be neutral
Hmm.
in certain situations
Hmm.
and hold space for others. To me, that's like what my goal is. But some people just want to feel more vibrant, healthy,
Right.
joy, like you said. But I think the word peace is
Mm.
probably consistent for many people.
Right. Yeah. To have that. Yeah. That's a great summary of that. I love that. Can you walk us through just like maybe a little session of what it looks like to work with you? Let's say someone's coming in for X problem. So I don't really like that word, a situation that they want to shift. What would it look like to have a session with you for a specific healing? Let's talk about it like that way.
Sure. Of course, I'd want to have a consultation, and I do 20-minute free consultations just to make sure we're the right fit and I understand your condition. And I do, since I'm not a medical doctor, I like to inform people of what energy healing can and cannot do. So I just want to preface that just with all the legalities and liability, and I do have liability insurance.
Nice.
So what would it look like is, first I'd want to understand, what's the concern? What is the immediate concern? Is it like, I feel really lethargic, I'm tired all the time, I'm constantly bombarded with like negative people in my life? I look at to see what the main issue is. So I have them fill out an intake form. And when we do a session together, we do it on Zoom or phone, whatever. I mainly do virtual and remote. And I say, okay, let's see what I can see. So I take them through a grounding practice, technique that really just helps them be in their body and be connected. And I work spirit to spirit. So I allow their own spirit, their own wisdom to guide me. So I am really just a facilitator of what needs to happen. It's not me doing anything. It's like getting directions and guidance so I can help this person. And I look at, are they in their body? Are they grounded? And if not, why? And what's causing that? Then I look at any energy blockages. So from, a Chinese medicine perspective, we have these meridians in our body, and we have chakras and different points in our body. And there's a flow of your chi or life force energy that should be flowing easily. So I look to see, is there any blockages? Is there any malillumination? Is there a source of leakage of their life force energy? I look at the auric space. I'm looking at all the systems, and there's a lot more than that, but on a basic level, I'm going to look at their grounding, their aura, their energy system, and first see what's going on there. Because sometimes I'm like, oh, I see what's happening.
Yeah.
And I use energy frequency that I can tap into and help the person receive. And I do some minor adjustments, fine tuning here and there. But I want to emphasize that this is all guided by the person's spirit and what they're willing to show me and offer so that I can help the person. Because I don't want to put my like influence or like what I think this person needs, because I'm a human.
Yes, this is true. Yeah. Oh, that's great explanation. Because I think a lot of people don't understand what like an energy session would look like. And I love that you explain that so well, and the different layers of looking at the body energetically and helping all the aspects of what we talked about to help that person shift. Yeah. And like you mentioned, a consult in the beginning is great, because we all need to know as healers if we are the right fit for someone. Is the person going to want to show up to do the work? Just like you said, it's them guiding the ship. And if they're not going to want to show up in the driver's seat, it's not going to matter what we help them with.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I do see that people want like the quick fix. And I'm very honest and upfront, and I'm like, look, I want the quick fix too, believe me. However, this is a commitment, but it's a commitment to yourself and your health and well-being. So I think that's like the biggest commitment you can make. Forget your marriage vows. This is you we're talking
this
about.
Is you. Right. You're number one.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And that's true. I think it's important for people to realize that the imprinting back to that we've been given over the past 50 plus years of take this pill and you can instantly feel better is a really poor imprint. It's trained ourselves to think that a quick fix is actually helping us, but actually it's suppressing our body's innate ability to heal. And I think that's like the huge thing that people are realizing, like, oh, wait, what? I've been taking this medication or anything for X amount of time, and now it's done this to me, this side effect, right? Now I have to heal from that.
And that's the thing I love that I learned, that we want to look at what the spiritual causation is of an illness, because Like I had something like some rash or something, and I could go get a topical, right, to
Right.
treat it. But
Steroid cream or something. Yeah.
but what is the source of this rash? And I want to get to the source. So I don't want to be on pharmaceuticals unless it would be like absolutely necessary. And
Right.
I
They're
know that,
needed at times for sure.
yeah, but I want to like, why are you so stressed out and anxious and on antidepressants and suffering in this way? Let's get that aspect. Let's go to the spiritual causation of that. Because it could be things that you don't even understand that have happened, maybe past life when you were a child, and maybe if we can heal those aspects of ourselves, that can create the healing of the condition or the ailment.
Yeah, that's so key. I love that you brought that up because it's important that we look not at the symptom, but the cause. And that's can be from anything from the physical to emotional to spiritual to mental, like you mentioned with anxiety. And that's a huge aspect that a lot of people are working with themselves with that mental health piece, especially due to the pandemic, just like the extra stress, the like mental processing, the everything around us has shifted. And getting the spiritual energetic help that is you need is important during this time of shift.
Yeah, and I love when people come to me and want me to be part of their like holistic healing team, like they're
Hmm.
working with functional medicine doctor or this or
Hmm.
that. I love that because it shows me that someone really wants that support and they're committed to it. That's something that I always say, look, I can do this, but I also advise maybe you see a naturopath or a
Hmm.
chiropractor or a functional medicine doctor as part of your team because we all
Mm.
need that.
And I love that you brought that up because it's so key. I know I refer out for counseling and energetic work, all the things that I don't have time for in my practice because I'm seeing all the other aspects from the physician's perspective. And that a team of healing is what creates that loving energy and support. We can't all do it by ourselves. We need to have that support and that net of love. I'm like, I don't know what I'm trying to say. There's something that's coming into my mind. Just that supportive
Yeah.
cushion, that cloud, that like loving embrace around us
Yeah.
in that healing journey.
Yeah, it's important
Mhm.
because people feel hopeless and helpless a lot. And if
Mhm.
they know that there's people looking out for them, there for them, it helps lessen the stress of it, right? So,
Right, totally. Yes. Wonderful, Nicole. As we're wrapping up today, I have one last question, and then we're going to dive into learning how people can find you and some of the wonderful things you have to offer. So, if you had an unlimited budget right now, what would you do to make the biggest impact on the planet?
oh, I love that. I already know. So,
Great.
just like we shared, I believe in holistic, a holistic HWHOL
Yeah.
approach to well-being. And I want to be like I want to have these amazing holistic centers all over the world that provide all the practitioners that can support someone. So it's like these amazing healing centers with functional medicine doctors, whatever you need, we've got it.
Yep.
And we can offer even low cost or no cost based on a nonprofit organization
Hmm.
that would be founded. So I see it as this big healing movement that I'd love to create and have these centers in places that people can go all over the world. That would be it.
Love it. Yes, you're not alone with that vision.
Yes.
Yeah, a
Well,
lot.
if there's a
That's
lot of us with it,
right.
it's going to happen.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And you know that when I ask that question, a lot of times people will answer in that format. Healing center. And then food that is also a big theme, like having whole food that we can eat. I think in that vision, it's coming together. The more of us, we need that whole food. We need that healing center. We need that support. So I love it. It's happening. Yay. You got it. Okay, so how can people find you, Nicole? What's your website? And tell us about you have these two wonderful things on your website, a meditation healing and an intuitive abilities quiz. Tell us about what those are.
Yes. So I have a cleansing healing meditation. It's called the magical waterfall meditation.
Mm.
So it is using color for healing, and there's some nice frequencies in the sounds of that meditation. So that's a free download that you can get. You just sign up on my website and opt in for that. And then also, if you do want to find out what your spiritual superpowers are, I have this great quiz. It's an assessment, and you'll find out what your highest, most developed abilities are and your least developed. So it gives you a point A, and just know that you can always develop and strengthen any of your abilities.
Right. Just like riding a bike.
Exactly.
You have to try it out and see if you can do it. It takes practice. And your website is divineflowhealing.com, correct?
Correct.
Great.
Yes.
And
both of those resources are there for you.
oh, wonderful. And then how about following you on social media so people can tune in to what you have going on?
Yes. So on Instagram, it's Divine Flow Healing. It's with the @ symbol in front. And then on Facebook, it's my full company name, Divine Flow Energy Healing. So you just search in there. And I do a lot of videos. YouTube is another place that you can find me if you search for Divine Flow Energy Healing. And I like to give a lot of value and content out there and share it.
Nice. Wonderful. That's great. I love it. We'll put all those in the show notes. And one last thing, I know I said I was going to have one last thing, but because it's Thanksgiving today, is there something that you would like to share that you're thankful for?
Oh, thank you for asking. I'm really thankful for the community, the support I have. I've always dreamed of having this type of community and support in my life. And now that I'm finally like building it and creating it, and I know it was all part of my intention and holding that space for it, it just feels amazing. And it's very different feeling than having a lot of friends, so to speak.
Yes. Community is different. That's true. Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
And helping to secure that intention for your future growth too. That's great. Thanks again, Nicole, for joining us today. It was a pleasure to learn about what you do and dive deep into the DNA.
Thank you.